Okay, for this session then, we're going to be looking at expanding brackets and simplifying expressions that involve 3 brackets. Now, my example for you. Okay, so we've got a question, x plus 5, x plus 6, x minus 4. Okay, first thing I want you to do is to put the first 2 terms of brackets into a grid. Okay, so we've got x plus 5 on the top and x plus 6 down the side. Okay, it is the easiest way to do it, grid method. If you are used to doing it foil method and you get the right answer, stick with that. Okay, but I find it easy to use the grid. Okay, once I've set my grid up, all I'm then going to do is multiply each of the terms by each of the terms. So for the top left box, I'm simply going to go x multiplied by x. So I get x squared. For the top right box, I'm going to go x multiplied by positive 5. So positive 5x. It is important you take into account the signs. In the case of this, both the positive belongs to the 5 and the positive belongs to the 6. But just make sure you do look for the signs, because on the third bracket, you'll see that that's x minus 4. So you're going to have to do your positive negative rules in terms of multiplication. For the bottom left box, we're looking at positive 6 times x, so positive 6x. And the last box, bottom right, and if you're going to go wrong, it will be on this box, because for some reason people add rather than multiply. Just remember, everything in your grid you are multiplying. So we're doing positive 6 times positive 5, which is positive 30. That's now expanded out, but it's not simplified. I can see I've got some like terms there. I've got the positive 6x and the positive 5x. So I'm going to add those together. They're both plus signs, so I'm going to add. Okay, that simplifies to x squared plus 11x plus 30. Now I'm going to use that information to put in a second grid, but utilising the third bracket, the x minus 4 bracket. Okay, so here's my answer to the first bit of the grid, x squared plus 11x plus 30. I'm going to bring in the final bracket, the x minus 4. Again, I'm going to set up my grid, and you can see this time it's a little bit bigger because I've got an extra term in that answer box from the previous answer. So I've got top left, I'm multiplying x by x squared, which gives me x cubed. For the middle top, I'm multiplying x by positive 11x, so positive 11x squared. And for the final one on the top row, I'm looking at x multiplied by 30, so that's just 30x. For the bottom row, I'm looking at negative 4, because that negative sign belongs to the 4. Negative 4 multiplied by x squared, so negative 4x squared. For the middle bottom, I'm looking at negative 4 times positive 11x. That gives me negative 44x, because a negative times a positive gives me a negative answer, remember. And then finally, for the bottom right, I'm looking at negative 4 times positive 30, and that gives me negative 120. Now you'll see you've got some like terms here that you can collect together. There's nothing that will go with the x cubed. There is only one x cubed within this answer grid. Okay, but we've got 2 sets of x squared and we've got 2 sets of x, so we can put those together. The x cubed, we can see, is in the answer line, plus 7x squared comes from 11x squared minus 4x squared. Okay, so you're reading that as 11 take away 4, and that's where I got the positive 7x squared from. 30x minus 44x, that's where I get the minus 14x from. And then finally, negative 120 is on its own. Now, I want you to have a go at this question. Again, set up your first grid with x plus 3, x plus 2, okay? And then once you've got that answer, I want you to do me a new grid and obviously then bring in the x plus 1, okay? Now, you're going to need to press the pause button on the video, okay, so to allow you time to actually do that. Please take your time, okay, and get it right, okay? Okay, if you got that question correct, you should have got an answer of x cubed plus 6x squared plus 11x plus 6. If you did get that, brilliant, well done. Okay, there's a worksheet on Teams that will basically give you some other questions which are ragged. So you've got some red easy ones, some amber slightly more difficult, and some green ones which will challenge you. Please take your time with these. With this topic in particular, if you're going to get a question and an exam paper for this, you will need to take your time. Okay, now, if you didn't get this answer, there's a couple of things I want to point out to you that you might have slipped up with, okay, because this topic, there's a couple of things you can go wrong with. Okay, so some common mistakes for this topic. Okay, make sure you've multiplied, not added, each of the terms by each term, but you must remember to look at their signs. Make sure you've collected your like terms before you draw the second grid, and remember x cubed isn't a like term to x squared, and that's not a like term to x. Okay, so just make sure your powers are all the same. Once you've multiplied each of the terms by each term, again, look at the signs, be careful with that. That will be the most common thing that you'll go wrong with. Collect your final terms for your final answer. Obviously, if you give an elongated answer which hasn't been simplified, potentially you're going to lose marks for that. Now, if you did go wrong, okay, in my experience, it tends to be that you've added rather than multiplying. So again, as mentioned before, just make sure you check that. Okay, if you are still struggling, if you want to contact me at school, I'll try and give you a few more pointers.